The film begins with two best friends, the promiscuous Sloane and the stiff Katie, excited for their next out-of-town excursion. For a month, they will labor at Eco-Field Organic Farms in order to save money for shopping trips to New York City. The following morning, Katie's police uncle Jason comes to fetch her up. She will spend the night at Jason and his girlfriend's house before heading to the farm. Sloane advises them to make up fictitious names for themselves while they are visiting the area while they get settled in. While Katie thinks of the name Ripley, Sloane thinks of the name Heather. Uncle Jason drops the two off at a station the following day so they can take the bus to the property. Jason tells them to think up a safe word in case they get into trouble, being the protective cop uncle that he is. The catch is that each text must conclude with a code word. Stated differently, Jason requests that Katie email him a new code word each day that is arranged alphabetically. Apple is the word of the day. The two decide to wait at the cafe after the uncle leaves because they still need to wait for the bus, which should arrive in about an hour. Two townsmen become interested in them right away, and they eventually sit at the same table as them. The two males identify themselves as brothers, Jed and Lucas, while the two women introduce themselves using the made-up names from the previous evening. Katie is first hesitant to accept the brothers' offer to give them a ride to work, but she eventually gives in to Sloane's imploring silence. In the end, the two get into the blue truck driven by the young men, but things don't go as to plan. The two women become confused when Jed purposefully walks by the farm where Sloane and Katie are employed. Finally, they show up. The mysterious mother of Jed and Lucas greets the two women and offers them tea before they go to the farm. After entering, Katie receives a text from her uncle, a police officer, and she responds to him with the safe words they have decided upon. In the interim, the two consume pie and tea, things they really shouldn't be doing, but they do. When they discover that there are drugs in their beverages, their vision becomes blurry. The moment the two realize anything is wrong, they both flee for their life. Regretfully, Jed and Lucas succeed in rendering them comatose, and then return them inside. The following day, Sloane and Katie are chained up in the midst of the woods and in a panic. As Jed approaches them, he informs them that they will now be residing here, and provides them with the bare necessities for survival, like clothing, a bed, and a toilet. After Sloane and Katie change into their new clothes, Jed's boss Boris appears and snatches Katie's phone to see if anyone knows where they are. This is when he finds out that Sloane and Katie were lying about their names and the code word they used in the text message. Finally, Sloane and Katie have to inform him that the word apple is a safety word. When the nasty sheriff has had enough, Sloane goes to comfort a shaken-looking Katie. Uncle Jason, who lives on the other side of town, is becoming concerned because Katie used the same safe word in her most recent text messages of yesterday. Once again inside the woods, Jed and Lucas greet a new client, whom we will now call Scruffy Guy. After that, he takes Sloane and carries her into the trailer. The Scruffy Guy is obviously a little crazy. Rewinding to Cop Uncle, he eventually calls Sloane and Katie's workplace and finds out that they were absent from work yesterday. Sensing they are in danger, he dashes to find them. The next customer that arrives is even more dubious than the last, so Sloane and Katie's day is about to get much worse. When the next customer approaches, Jed and Lucas scramble to conceal their heads. Sloane is picked up by the pig mask guy and led into the trailer. It's now Katie's time to comfort a shaken Sloane. When he departs, Sloane looks even more terrified than she did before, so we're not really sure what the pig mask person did to her. The perverted sheriff of the town that we previously saw is there waiting for Uncle Jason as he arrives at the sheriff's office in the following scene. At this point, it becomes clear that the uncle is an FBI agent, rather than merely a police officer. He expresses his worries since he thinks his niece is being abducted. For some reason, the FBI uncle chooses to inform the sheriff that he knows they're in trouble since Katie failed to use a new code word in her most recent text message, adding to the intrigue of the story. Once they are back in the woods, it is clear that the sheriff has told the kidnappers that Katie lied to them about the safe word, and that her uncle is an FBI agent. Boris, the boss, orders Jeff to kill them both and dispose of their remains because he doesn't want the FBI to snoop around his people trafficking operation. They have no idea that Katie is listening in on their talk. The FBI uncle chooses to stop at the cafe where he last left off Sloane and Katie in the midst of all of this. The barrister is next asked what knowledge he has. The truck type that Katie and Sloane departed with is distinctly remembered by the barrister. The following day, just before the kidnappers and the Scruffy Guy show up, Katie informs Sloane that the kidnappers intend to kill them. The Scruffy Guy is left behind to observe them after that. Using this as an opportunity to entice him, Katie cuts his throat with her bare fangs as soon as she gets close enough. After then, the two women manage to break free from their bonds. Shortly later, the sheriff shows up, presumably with the intention of killing them. However, Sloane and Katie have taken his car as soon as he gets out of it. After driving back into town, the two women stop at a hardware store to get supplies. This is going to be a real shit show. The cashier replies that he knows where Boris, the man driving the blue truck, lives when they ask him if he knows him. Uncle Jason visits the town's auto insurance headquarters today as he carries out his inquiry on the opposite side of town. He tells a falsehood about hitting a blue truck by accident and inquires as to its owner. Boss Boris has returned home. It comes out that Sloane and Katie had ambushed him covertly and had hurled numerous tennis balls laced with sharp nails, severely hurting him. Now that the roles are reversed, Boris begs to survive and even offers his money in return for his life being spared. Uncle Jason arrives in front of Boris' house at that precise moment. When they get back inside, Katie and Sloane start asking him who the man with the pig mask is. When Boris won't tell, killing him and Katie grab a homemade Uncle Jason notices that Boris is dying, and that it looks like Sloane and Katie have left. When he finally makes it inside the approaching storm, the sound and automobile motors is then heard by Jason. While Uncle Jason rushes the dying Boris to the hospital, Katie and Sloane depart. Uncle Jason is told by the sheriff in the following scene that Boris did not make it. Uncle Jason tries to call Katie's phone as he becomes ever more concerned, but suddenly the sheriff draws his gun, realizing he has lost his cover. When Sloane and Katie pull up in front of a church, we find out that the man wearing the pig mask is actually the town priest. When Sloane enters the church, her assailant confronts her directly. The two best buddies defeat the idiot together with Katie's assistance. We see that Katie and Sloane are now content and carefree as they leave. However, it turns out that the priest, also known as the pig mask person, has been chained behind the truck the entire time. When they stop and get out of the vehicle, they douse him in gasoline and light him on fire as their last blow before taking off. Jason is currently being held captive by the sheriff, even though the two women appear to be doing well. Worse yet, it seems the sheriff has taken two more young ladies into custody. Fortunately, Sloane and Katie have arrived to save the day. After tying up the sheriff, they start torturing him by having him play Russian roulette. Now that it's clear, the two women are a little crazy, but we can't really blame them, I suppose. When Katie finally knocks the sheriff out with a strike to the head, he starts apologizing profusely. The women are then set free by Katie and Sloane, who also instruct them to release Uncle Jason. When Jason tries to question the women who killed the sheriff, they refuse to respond since they believe that Sloane and Katie saved their lives. After that, Katie and Sloane decide to give Jed and Lucas' mother a drug in the same manner that she gave them a few days prior. When they visit her home, they shackle her and drag her downstairs to the basement, where Jed is also bound and gagged. The mother is made to watch as they proceed to hit his head with baseball bats. They then bring her to Lucas, who is also restrained to a chair. Nevertheless, they release him, give him a bat, and threaten to beat his own mother instead of beating him to death. Lucas expresses his disapproval, and they shoot him to death. The two women then staged his body to make it appear as though he committed suicide. It comes to light that they intend to blame him for every murder. The mother, in a desperate attempt to save herself, offers them money. However, Katie murders her with the lawnmower, violently, rather than sparing her. Uncle Jason arrives at Katie's residence in the following scenario to take her and Sloane up. It seems like a while has gone by. After being dropped off at the airport,